When you click send on a self-tape, and then you have that that moment afterwards where you go, I think I could have done a better job. Whether it's because you've reviewed your tape or you just have that moment afterwards. You know, the tendency is to cycle through and think of all the things, and you wish you could reach your hand in the internet and pull the tape out and go do it again. The thing is that you have to understand that what you're doing is art, okay? Acting, auditioning, and acting, you know, it's an art form. There's always going to be room for improvement. You know, like there's no, like I'm working on a painting right now, and like it's never going to be done. Eventually I'm going to just have to stop and declare it done, and you know, and not look at it all the time and go, oh, I could have filled that in a little bit, right? So you have to trust yourself. You have to learn how to trust yourself, number one. I think actually, to backtrack, there's a couple other things. Number one is to make sure that you have really rock solid training, and that you give yourself, have rock solid training and give yourself the time and space to rehearse. Now, I understand that you will not always have 1,000,000 hours to rehearse, nor should you spend 1,000,000 hours rehearsing, but take as much time as you can to rehearse before the point of diminishing returns where things start getting worse, before thinking about it, right? Know what that point is for yourself, and work on the scene, and then click send, you know, because you do want to try to send it in early if you can, because there's always the possibility that the casting director is going to watch them way before the due date and already get their taste buds set on somebody well before the due date. So now I don't say that to make you panic and try to send in something before it's ready, but rather to give you the opportunity to think about the due date being earlier than it is, and to try, given your life and your obligations and responsibilities, to do the best you can to get it in the best condition that you can, as early as you can. Okay, with all those things working together, right? But there is a certain point at which you will have to trust yourself when you click the send button. And then, you know, part of that trust doesn't mean that you never feel the feeling, right? But what happens is, you know, when you feel that feeling, the tendency is to start the obsessive circling of thoughts, and then to look back with regret and go, oh, if only I had, I know I could, self-doubt, 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 right? And so instead, I would invite you to choose a different way of looking at that. So you click the send and you go, and then you go, okay, this is that moment where I'm doubting myself. I remember this. Isn't that interesting? Look at me doing that. That's what it's like, that feeling of doubt. Okay, what if I could notice that feeling of doubt without the self-judgment, without, you know, all of the angst, without the regret, and I can just step back and notice that this is happening. Isn't that interesting? And you just, you know, sort of, you're neutral, like Switzerland, just noticing that this is going on. And that, while it sounds extremely simple, is an extremely powerful exercise to do. That when you practice that, really practice that, becoming aware, number one, number two, noticing without judgment. As you practice that 1-2 punch like that, you will become adept at going, okay. And it rolls off you. So it's not that you should try to program yourself so you never feel like that feeling, because that's not, you know, like life happens. We're going to encounter circumstances and things that make us go, right? But it's what you do in that moment that makes the difference between you spiraling into, you know, that, you know, rabbit hole of despair, or you feeling like the powerful badass that you are, going, look, I just did that thing again. That's interesting. Okay. Right. And giving yourself some grace.